Our Home Affairs spokesperson Sabulela Qoza says Omotoso is expected to appear in court on Monday.
A Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster-led law enforcement operation arrested Timothy Omotoso in East London this morning. The arrest follows the decision of the Minister of Home Affairs to reject the application submitted by Omotoso in terms of Section 87 of the Immigration Act that sought to overturn the earlier decision of the Department of Home Affairs to declare Omotoso as a prohibited person. The Minister's decision means that Omotoso is now illegally in the Republic of South Africa and therefore subject to deportation. Omotoso earlier challenged his status as a prohibited person in court, and the court held that his status should be remitted back to the department for reconsideration. After carefully reconsidering the matter, the minister upheld the decision to declare Omotoso as a prohibited person. In order to ensure compliance with the laws of the Republic, Omotoso is scheduled to appear in court on Monday, 12 May 2025, on charges of contravening the provisions of the Immigration Act. The Department of Home Affairs continues to be guided by our unwavering commitment to upholding the rule of law without fear or favor.
All right, let's continue with the story of Nigerian televangelist Timothy Omotoso, who was arrested in East London shortly after concluding a church service early this morning. And as you've just heard, the police commissioner, Fani Masimula, says the arrest is linked to immigration issues and he is, of course, Omotoso, that is expected to appear in court come Monday, where specific charges will then be disclosed. Let's now welcome SABC News reporter Lerato Fekisi, who is in Kabeja and joins us now. Lerato, a very good afternoon to you. So firstly, take us through the official reasons provided by SABC on Omotoso's arrest. I know, of course, General Fani Masimula says these charges are currently immigration arrested, but I mean, we understand you can't really be detained without any charges.
Absolutely, Alicia. So just to put into context as to how we arrived here, in 2017, Omotoso was arrested for the trafficking charges, which he has now been acquitted for. Alongside that, Alicia, they also discovered that he was in the country with a general worker's permit or a visa that was actually done fraudulently. So while there was a criminal charges being laid against him, there was also, on the other hand, proof that he was in the country illegally. He then tried to ask the Home Affairs to try and extend his general worker visa, and they said absolutely not, because we have already found out that your visa is fraudulent. So how dare you try and ask for an expansion on something already fraudulent? And then the Home Affairs then discovered also that because of that, Omotoso was actually a prohibited person. Omotoso then went to the courts and asked them to try reverse the decision that he's been declared a prohibited person, and the court said because there are many states of power, we cannot as a court decide or declare you a prohibited person in South Africa, and if anything, the Department of Home Affairs are the ones who must make the decision. So what we heard today was the Department of Home Affairs, the minister herself, declaring Omotoso, in fact, going against his appeal and saying that in fact he is a prohibited person, and because he is that, he's therefore illegally in the country, and based on that he must be deported. So that's where we found ourselves, where we saw him early hours of this morning being arrested in East London after a prayer service, where now the Minister of Department of Home Affairs has officially declared him a prohibited person, and based on that now he's illegally in South Africa, and based on that now he must face deportation. So he will appear in East London, like you said, on Monday, and like you said, faces charges of contravening provisions of the Immigration Act.
So what's next for Omotoso after Monday then, Lerato? What do we expect?
So he's going to appear in court on Monday, where his charges will be read out to him and the reasons behind that. And then obviously the courts will then decide as to what must happen next with him. But we also are aware, Alicia, that like I said, the criminal charge or the criminal case that he had when he was arrested in 2017, which linked to 32 charges of racketeering, human trafficking and rape, to which he was acquitted for. The state has currently put together a legal team of experts who are going to appeal the judgment. So we've pretty much got two cases here, Alicia. A case where the state is going to appeal the criminal side of the case, where he was acquitted on all 32 charges just over a month ago. And then on the other side, we've got the contravening of the Immigration Act, where on Monday he's going to hear exactly what his judgment is going to be on that, whether the court is going to decide. But pretty much now what the Minister of Home Affairs has pretty much done is to say, if anything, he is a prohibited person. And by virtue of that, Alicia, now what we possibly will see, obviously pending the appearance on Monday, is the deportation of Mr. Omotoso, because by him being declared a prohibited person in the country based on the Minister of Home Affairs, he now must be deported back to his country of origin, which is Nigeria.
You know, Lerato, this is so confusing because thank you so much, in fact, for taking us back there to, you know, all the controversy actually surrounding him being arrested, because we do understand that when he was arrested, he was actually accosted at the airport trying to flee the country. And at that time, that's when his legal immigration status was actually declared illegal. So, I mean, Home Affairs did make a statement, I suppose, right after his trial, saying that he was supposed to have been arrested or would be arrested and deported right after the trial. But it's been weeks now. So what are they saying in terms of what took them so long to react on his legal immigration status in the country?
Alicia, I think what perhaps caused the confusion with the deportation of Omotoso was that after Omotoso was acquitted of all the charges that he faced, the criminal side of his case, was that the NPA said that the Omotoso is going to be deported. And naturally, when you hear that, you think to yourself, maybe 2 or 3 days after he's been acquitted of all charges, he's going to leave the country. But for someone to leave the country is not up to the NPA, it's up to the Department of Home Affairs. And like I said, Omotoso challenged an application that had been brought forward by him, saying that he wants the Home Affairs to review the fact that he is not a prohibited person. So they had to go through the reviewing process to look at his application, say why he wants to stay in the country, and then ultimately the courts had to then say, as the court, we cannot rule on that. You have to take that back to the Minister of Home Affairs, and then only the Minister of Home Affairs is able to declare someone as a prohibited person. So that entire process did obviously take some time. It wasn't a matter of him being acquitted and then 2 or 3 days he had to leave, because it first went to the courts, from the courts then back again to the Department of Home Affairs, from then to the minister, to now the minister officially saying today that he's a prohibited person, and by virtue of that he is now declared illegal in the country and he must leave. So it was pretty much the process that had to be followed, so that things are done lawfully, so that there are no grey areas or anything that perhaps the defense can contest to say that things are not done right, so that when they declare a prohibited person, they will say, oh, based on these reasons, by virtue of the minister saying it and declaring it, then the courts or anyone else cannot challenge that, because the minister has declared him as a prohibited person, and by virtue of that, then he's illegally in the country, and therefore he has got to be deported.
Thank you for that clarity. So we were given some sort of expectations that were not actually met right after the trial there, Lerato. So we also understand that his supporters are staging a protest outside where he's currently detained. What are they saying? I mean, we hear that they are calling for his release, saying that he's currently being persecuted. What is his response? Has there been any word from his legal representatives as well?
There's been no response from his legal representative as yet. We have not had chance to speak to him, but the members of the JDI have expressed their dissatisfaction. Obviously, when he was acquitted over a month ago, there was that huge jubilation outside court where they were saying that he's been released from prison, and if anything, he is not guilty anymore because the court found him not guilty. So for him now to be arrested just after a crusade they had, or prayer service they had in East London, they really are seeing it as a improper prosecution against their pastor. And you must understand, Alicia, that Omotoso in his church is not just a pastor, but he is a father figure. So for someone of that status, of that hierarchy, as they put him in, to be now again challenged again before the court, they see it pretty much as an attack on his character, attack on his reputation, especially when they believe that his defense had done all they could to make sure that he's acquitted, and he was acquitted. So perhaps the questions they are asking themselves now, after 9 years and after not being able to find any charges charges against him. What now is the court going to bring forward, and why now do they want to arrest him when the church feels like they've been freed? Their man of God is now free to do what he wants to do. Why now go back and prosecute him? So they are calling it unfair, calling it unjust, calling it attack on his character, calling it attack spiritually on the man of God that they esteem to be a father figure, and obviously saying that they want him to be released because, as you understand, and I said earlier on, there is a planned crusade that has already started in East London, and it was going to run until the 13th of May that Omotoso is going to be a part of. So obviously this goes against their plans for that crusade, and that will also explain their anger and dissatisfaction against his arrest.
Lerato, thank you so much for that comprehensive update there. Lerato Fekisi, live to us from Gqeberha there in the Eastern Cape after SABC has reportedly arrested televangelist Timothy Omotoso.